Oh shoot. And we're in the house with Nic Johnston. Dude, thank you so much. This is so cool. I want to thank Paper Street Coffee. Appreciate you guys. Always helping us out, always linking us up. It was so cool to get to meet you. We got to meet you at Crash. And I just the stories that you were starting to tell us at Crash were so I can't even help it. I'm so curious about this because you were
Of your life. Just curious of
dude.
your life.
Well,
Hey,
I'm
what's up,
ready.
guys?
I'm ready for whatever questions you have.
The first one is just like when you were starting to tell us how everybody came to your house and started living in your house. So Ricky was living in your house. Wait, who else was it? It was Ricky. It
Ricky,
was
Jay, and Maddie were there the longest, yeah. But it seems like once February hits, I've got somebody in there every month of some kind.
and you were like, just as long as it's okay with Taylor.
That's honestly, they're lucky. There's a really easy pass, and if they stay one time, they either get never again or they get to come back whenever they want. So she's the filter on that one, and the dogs are the second filter. So as long as they're good, because I'm too nice. I'll let anybody come by. Somebody's got to have a filter in there somewhere.
She's like, this doesn't work. This works. This one can't come back. This one doesn't pick up his shit. Like, I remember that when we met you and you were telling us that Taylor's the one that has the say of like, pick up your shit and that kind of stuff. And it was so cool to hear that. I love hearing stories like that because there's always one of us in a relationship that's like goes with the flow and the other one is like, nah, that doesn't fucking fly with me. That doesn't work.
Yeah, that's my whole life. Like I was such a like when it came to house chores, just whatever before I met Taylor, and now it's all over it. And it's been funny because Tia and Shane are probably like that to the nth degree. And if you ever come to the gym, it's every Rogue logo needs to be in one spot, every wall ball needs to be in one spot. Like everything's immaculate, and that bleeds over into what we do with our athletes, and that's like our number one thing now. To where it's cool to see. Like I think I told you guys a story about Ricky of Jay and Maddie getting on him for leaving stuff out or not cleaning up after himself. So it trickles down, which is awesome.
Well, it's like you don't want to get in trouble because somebody else didn't do something. It's that military mentality, right? Like, dude, you got to go get your stuff because otherwise we're going to get in so much trouble. And I don't feel like being in trouble. And I especially don't feel like being in trouble from the wife. Like,
oh, yeah, especially my wife. That's nothing anybody wants a part of.
She is so chill. So we got to meet her very briefly, being at Crash too. And I just love that she had one of your dogs in a backpack and just chills and his paws were crossed and he was like the coolest thing. Does she travel with him a lot? Do you guys travel with that dog a lot?
Yeah, so that's Bruce, and we've got another dog too that's newer, and he's not as chill, so he stayed in the car. But we got Bruce probably the first year we were dating, and he's been with us ever since through all the moves, through all the craziness. So he's been on the road he's 6 years old now, and he's been with us every step of the way. So whether it was in Rich's barn hanging with Taylor or at the gym in Nashville when I was working with Proven at our first gym or in Knoxville at all these different gyms. So he's really acclimated to that kind of stuff.
When you guys were in separate areas, like when she was at Mayhem or whatever, was he with her? Was he with you? Or were you guys ever able to be at like Mayhem together and Proven together?
Yeah, so the way it worked was we lived in Knoxville, and so Knoxville, if you don't know, the geography is basically, if we started at Knoxville, Cookeville would be an hour away, and Nashville is an hour and a half from there. So it's like right on the exact same highway. So what we would do, because back then with the team rules, Taylor had to be there 51% of the time. Every Friday when she got done with class, we would jump in the car, we would drive up, I would drop her off in Cookeville, I would go to Nashville to coach, I would pick her up on my way back, and then we'd go home. And that was every week for a year and a half, 2 years. And there was a couple cool times where she got to actually do a rotation in Cookeville once she was past her class side of school. And we lived in Cookeville for, I think, 6 to 8 weeks at a time, which was awesome. So we were right there and we got to be together for that stuff. But for that 3 years she was in school, we were pretty much on the road and all in different places the whole time.
Oh my God.
and for what I remember, if I remember correctly, it's not like she's she's a real adult. Like she's a professional. She like isn't like an emergency room something, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like she's not playing adult.
She's a real adult.
Yeah, she's like responsible for people's lives is what if I remember her story correctly.
Yeah,
So-
she's a physician's assistant. So basically, not all the countries have this, but it's like a step under a doctor. So she can do everything that a physician does except for own her own practice. So she's in running clinics, and she's got such a crazy job right now. I don't know if I shared this with you guys, but she runs all of the medical clinics within the prisons of Nashville. So she goes to the 4 different prisons. And let me tell you, the stories that girl has coming home from work every day could keep you up forever.
Oh my
like
God,
it is.
He is a badass. Holy shit. Going from CrossFit to doing that shit. Like kudos to her. Holy shit.
Listen, I've watched TV. I don't know. I've seen Prison Break.
Prison stories.
I've seen like
Nuts. And like I'll be sitting here during the middle of the day, and obviously like I'm more blessed than anybody. I get to work out of a gym and hang out with awesome people all day. And the texts that she sends me are wild. Like I got one on Wednesday this week that was like, yeah, I just went toe to toe with some gang member that was about 6'5", and I told him off. And I'm like, it's a cool story, but I'm not sure I like this very much.
That's what I was about to ask you. Like I would be like, okay, you can do this, but I'm gonna have to be your bodyguard through the whole thing. Like you cannot not be with me. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she got a job right after school or when she got done competing as well. That was alternative medicine where, very cosmetic stuff. You're talking about like stem cells, things like that, where you're dealing with people with a lot of money that just want to kind of improve their life. And that's awesome. That's cool. And she had no passion for it whatsoever. She was bored with it. She got basically headhunted, went into this job, and she's like, my days go like this. It's insane because like everything's moving. And that's how our lives have been for 4 years now. So I think it scratches that itch a little bit that she was used to having when she had both her CrossFit and her school career. And she's just loving it.
I mean, what do you say when she's like, hey babe, I'm gonna go work and this is where I'm gonna go work and this like what do you say? It says something
like the things that we've been through over the last 4 years, like we've said yes to everything. And at this point we just learned you're gonna either hate it and you're not going to do it anymore, or you're going to love it and you're going to be in it for a while, and then you find something else probably. Like we've just been through so many different life paths together that we've figured out there's no way you should ever just say no to something off the bat unless you know it's just not for you. So we gave it a try, and now she has a huge passion for it and she loves it.
See, now I feel like such a dork because we saw her at the games, or not at the games, but at Crash, and I was saying hi to her, and we were like, the dog was so cute and like whatever, and I'm like, oh, I love your husband. She's like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, I'm the biggest dork that's ever walked. And now to find out that she's like a physician in a prison with like gangbangers.
Yep.
Good. Okay. I need to read.
Yeah, and then she just decides that she wants to be an ultra marathon runner now, so she does that when she gets done with work, and I can't keep up. It's too much for me.
Well, speaking of that, is this part of her new adventure? This just
it's insane. Like I don't understand. She always says to me, she's like, people aren't built differently. You just have choices that you have to make to go do things you don't want to do. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like you are a different human being. You're a different human than I've ever met. Even over the games athletes, even Tia's like, that girl there's something wrong with her. I'm not even on her level when it comes to what she is able to do in a day. And she just has to always keep going. Like I said before, it's more of a need at this point rather than just trying to do things. Like yesterday, she's telling me, yeah, I think I'm going to do this ultra marathon up at this track. We're going to go like 48 hours straight, like every hour on the hour. It's like, oh, cool. Like, when do you sign up? She's like, oh, no, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to go out by myself, and if anybody wants to join me, they can, but that's kind of what the next thing is. I was like, okay.
And you said you think that comes from the competitive world. I mean, that's such a fast-paced world, and, for her being on the team, and then obviously like she's still kind of part of it with you because you're traveling all the time and whatever. So have you guys always been in this fast-paced kind of world and you both love it, or have you grown to love it with all of the time that you guys have been spending in it?
Probably the answer to that is probably both, because when I met Taylor, I was a different person that nobody that I know now would even guess how I was, to be honest with you. Like, I was pretty lazy. Like, I just wanted to do CrossFit all day. And I coached at gyms, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just coached so I could work out all day. That's really all it was. And like, when she got into PA school, there was a realization of, hey, I can't support us anymore if I'm going to be in school full time. You've got to go get a job. And like, it wasn't that aggressive, but it was at that point of her saying, like, we've got to figure something out if we're going to move across the country and I'm going to be able to do this. And, you know, that probably means that I'm retiring from CrossFit. And she thought she was at that time. And that's when we saw a real shift in our lives of like, okay, we're going to have to grow up and be adults now. What's that look like? And the next 4 years were just wild. From there, like, I was working for a company in Texas that turned into a much bigger job than we thought. I took that company over. So I was getting on a plane twice a month back and forth from there, then got a job with Proven, was going back and forth from there. So once 2021 hit, we were nonstop. Like, we didn't have a single day where the full schedule was without something going on. We never had weekends. We never had anything. And it wasn't easy, right? Like, that was a very trying time, and never like in our marriage, but it was a very trying time of if we even thought we should be doing what we're doing, if it was too much. And we knew at the end of the day, if we get through this, it's going to be something we're going to look back on. It's going to define who we are and set us up for a future that we want to live. And that's where we're at now, which is very cool. But even when you get to these moments of feeling like you are where you wanted to be, then there's a whole nother level, right? Because there's always more that you can do. So I think the scale just continues shifting, and you're able to take on more and more. And maybe one day we'll be able to slow down a little bit. But right now we're just enjoying it, because everything that we do leads to a better life that we have eventually. And as long as we put each other first and we're taking care of each other when it comes to that, that's like number one for us. And we've only found success in what we're doing.
Who kind of settles you down? I mean, I know you guys are busy all the time and whatever, but you were talking about how you were traveling, you would go coach, then you would pick her up, bring her home, like whatever. When does it kind of settle down? When is it when you join Proven that it kind of gets settled down and now you guys are in one place doing you're busy, but you're busy in one place? Is that
so
it?
2023, she was done with school. And we decided, hey, do you want to go right into work, or do you want to, because that's when I took over as CEO, do we want to try to do one more year of team? Rich had retired. She didn't really know what she wanted to do, because, you know, competing with Sam, Rich, and Andrea was what she thought was the pinnacle. Like, in my opinion, I don't think we'll ever see a team that will ever touch that team. They're the best team that's probably ever been at the games. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to follow that up. But she wanted to give it 1 year of trying to be a strictly professional athlete. So she put off working for a year. We moved to Nashville. That was our first year where we were planted in one spot. And then from there, we bought a house in Nashville, and now she's into work full time. So ever since then, it's been a little bit more grounded. And then it's just more of the traveling here back and forth in whatever I have and then whatever she wants to do. But it's way less stressful than it was back then when she was in school.
What are those? I'm curious. Wait, hold on, baby. Okay. What are those conversations like? Like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to take a year off? Do you not want to compete anymore? Do you want to start a job? Like, is it just you listening and then whatever she wants to do, you're like, yeah? Or is it like, I don't know if it's smart for you not to get a job yet, or I don't know if it's.
Yeah, it was probably the most we've gone back and forth on anything. And it's a little bit different because I think a lot in our space, most of the individuals we come across, they only want to get to a point where they can be professional athletes, right? Like, once I get to X amount of money, I can quit everything else I'm doing and I want to be an athlete. Where Taylor was always a little bit different, to where she felt like she needed another thing like work to keep her sane. And she knew if she did become a professional athlete, she would just be bored during the day. She wouldn't have any fulfillment, and being just an athlete never filled her cup in a way that she could do something else. So it came more from a conversation of, I wanted her to give it a try because she's earned that right to just be a pro athlete. And I pushed from that end a little bit to where she's like, hey, I could still do something else. And I was like, let's just give it a year. You and Andrea and Tim and Tola at the time, like, you guys have a great team. Let's just see how it goes. It's the first year approved for the full time. And to be quite fair with you, like, and I'll be the first one to admit faults. it probably wasn't the best idea. I think she probably could have worked and it would have made her a little bit happier. I think she was pretty frustrated with how the year turned out personally because she was just sitting on her hands and was pretty bored. Like she got her training done and she trains a ton, but she just felt like she wasn't doing anything that was fulfilling her life at the time. I think something cool that came out of it from her though is that's when she started fostering dogs, which was pretty fun. She I think she went through close to maybe 10 dogs. I don't know, between 5 and 10 dogs at that time, to where we had a new one in the house all the time. And she got a lot out of that, which kind of sparked a new passion for her. But like all in all, if we had to do it again, I wouldn't have pushed her to make that decision and just kind of let her do what she knew was right because she'd been doing it that long for the whole time.
When you guys are going, I want to go back just a little bit. When she's traveling and you guys are traveling constantly, you're going to Proven, she's going to Mayhem or whatever, like, what are those type of conversations like? Because you obviously want to support, but you also are apart so much. And, you know, Garrett and I got together and we were only apart for probably a couple months. You know, to think that you guys were doing this driving back and forth and being away from each other for so long. Like, how did you guys manage that? Was a lot of conversations, a lot of sacrificing and knowing that this was just what you guys were going to do during this season?
Yeah, year one was really tough because year one was like, I would be gone at either my job in Texas or Proven in Nashville, and I would get back on, let's say, a Sunday, and it wouldn't be a good time, right? Like you'd be like stressed to the max. What are we going to do? I have to get ready for class in the morning. Us trying to figure out and navigate what that looked like, and I would say that was the most stressful time we've had in our relationship. So it was really a choice from there. Like I think we could have shut it down pretty easily. I could have just gone to one job, could have been there more at home, but. And the reason why I love her so much is she always wants to make sure that both of our ambitions are put at the forefront. We're doing things that help us advance in life, no matter what we're doing. So we made the decision, hey, we're going to both go full in on this and what we're doing. It may blow up in our face and we don't know, but we're going to go all in and just see what happens and try to get through the other side. So to answer your question, it turned into, from that moment for the next year and a half, no more questions. We get in, we do exactly what we need to do on a weekly basis. We come up with a schedule that works. We throw emotions out the window and we just do what we have to do. And there really weren't any more talks after that. Obviously, like emotions will come up, but at that point, there's no more point in talking about it if we made the decision to do it because we're not backing out. And that's where it became one of those things where we both grew massively from that. And I think from a mental aspect, you just realize if you're going to dive into something, you're there. You can't backpedal and you can't second guess yourself when it comes to that, or else you're just going to put yourself farther behind.
How do you do that? How do you?
Holy crap. Yeah, that was amazing.
How do you remove emotion, especially in a marriage? like when it comes to this diving.
Look, there has to be one man and one woman. Two women together.
Two women is too emotional.
And honestly, like to your point, I think it's just because our relationship and our marriage was so strong from a foundational level. Like there was nothing there that was in question. There was no selfishness. I think it comes down to a lot like what we try to teach here with our athletes. We're all individuals, but at the end of the day, if you're doing something to help other people get better and you're putting your ego aside when you walk through the door every single day and you're trying to help the person in the room have a better day rather than just thinking of yourself, that seems to be the biggest thing for us. And I think it's one of those things where although we have individual goals, we know we're going in a direction that's going to set us up for a lot of for success in the long run. And it could have been failure, honestly. But we worked for it really hard and it turned out great. Didn't have to turn out great, but I think that's where the effort level came in. And we were just able to tell each other, hey, we have to be both here together. If one of us is up here and one of us is down here, it's going to blow up pretty quickly. But in every action that we're taking, we have to make sure we're moving in a positive direction.
You said that's what it's like. You take that with your athletes as well, right? And you have, of course, our people's champion, Colton Mertens, right? Like you have our champ with you. And when he goes out there and does these incredible things, like he'll just win events by like a minute and he'll walk off and just strut around. He doesn't even look like he's tired half the time when he does it. Is that mindset? Like you got to take the emotions out of it. Every athlete is kind of doing, how how did you just say it? You said it so beautifully, but like every athlete's kind of doing their own thing and what's best, and you have to take the emotion out of it, and you just have to go. So like all your other athletes know, just like, hey, Colton's just going to do this, and we know it, and we're not going to be emotionally affected by it. Because I would be emotionally affected by it.
And that's what it comes down to, is just we've gotten to the point to where we bring individuals in based on those criteria, right? It's not about athletic ability. And we've just been very fortunate to be able to work with really talented athletes over the last 2 years. And I think just because of our connection to Australian athletes and having the best ones there, that's helped a lot. But that's no coincidence, because those Australian athletes that we have and the ones that are building with us are, from a character level, the best people that I know. Like, they are on a different level when it comes to putting people first. And although they're individual athletes and each of them want to win the games, let's not sugarcoat it. Like, every single person there really wants to be the best in the world. And when you look at people like Ricky and Jay, I'll use them for an example. Those two, if you look at the rest of the field, should be viewed as the most tight competitors you can ever ask for. Both of them are in a top 5 position. Programming goes one way or the other. They're beating each other, possibly for the podium, maybe for winning the games one day. When we're in training with those guys, all they care about is giving each other a good workout. Like, it's the craziest thing I've ever come across. And it's comes from Tia and Shane just setting a boundary and what we've been able to build here. So to like answer your question as a whole, I think what we've seen with people like Colton, he fits that bill so well because he's not an ego-driven person. He cares about people as a whole, and he could step into this environment and say, hey, maybe I don't have this individual coach who's going to hold my hand and walk around with me in every single second of training where I need that, because some athletes do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to learn from the people that are in this room that have done this longer than me and who have been more successful for me. Because I think that's like, when you have Tia in the room, that's your gold standard. And that's one of those things that they all look up to. And Tia could be the person who walks around with the biggest ego in the world, because she's earned that right, where she could walk into our pro space and say, hey, everybody get out of here. I don't want anybody in here. I'm training today. Mm-hmm. But no, she's like, hey, don't worry about me. I'll get in last. Give me this equipment. Give me that. I'll figure it out. And everyone falls in line after that, because they understand if she's doing it, we have to do it. And I think that's the same thing when it comes to any aspect of life, is nobody's too good for anything. Like, you can always learn something. There's nobody that's at a point to where they are the best in the world at something, but they can't continue to get better. And that's what we've been trying to build over time. And I think that's why you'll see athletes like Colton and others really benefit from a camp setting. We've worked with a couple athletes over the last couple months who have wanted to join our camp, and we've had to let them go, quite honestly, because it's one of those things to where they just don't understand how you could put 12 games athletes that are individuals into a room and get the most out of each one of them as a group, because they don't understand how, if the attention isn't all on them, how they're going to get better. And again, like I said, that's totally okay. And that's going to be something that we're going to have to be good with, even though we know at this point probably what's best for them. But they've got to figure that out on their own. And that's like, we're going back to our relationship question with me and Taylor. You've got to put yourself out there on these things and figure things out on your own. It may not always be right, but you got to learn from them. Because if you don't learn from them, you're just doing the same thing over and over. And it's just like people say about insanity, right? Like, doing the same thing over and over without changing anything is only going to lead to more problems. So whether it's good, bad, ugly, in between, you've got to learn from every single decision you make. And that's just how we get better.
But also being a part of a camp like you guys have created over at Proven, a lot of athletes talk about this, missing the like the opportunity, the competitive opportunity. If you're not going to a competition, you're not getting that experience. But with you creating such a strong, tight-knit community over at Proven, you're giving each other that opportunity, that experience, without having to go out all the way. How much of that type of intensity does the team do? Is it often, or is it usually only to prepare them for like an event that's coming up or a competition that's coming up?
Yeah, I think we've been through every iteration you could possibly be through in this, and we finally figured it out. I think, year one, we had brought in maybe what was considered the first camp style that was really in the field, right? When we had Brooke and Saxon, Will and Alec and all of them. And at that point, we really were coming from a fact of, hey, here's what Tia's doing. If you guys want to jump in, you can absolutely jump in, but there's really no individual coaching going on outside of some tweaks here or there in programming. That worked a little bit. And it was such early days. We didn't really have a good game plan of how we were going to scale that or even help them past year one. So that kind of blew up in our face. It really wasn't what we wanted. And again, I think that was a personnel issue to where we hadn't had these guardrails in place of who we wanted involved, just kind of threw people in there and hoped for the best. And again, we learned from it and then we moved on. The next iteration was where we thought, hey, if that template program didn't work, we're going to go all individual. So we started bringing in more individual coaches. Every athlete had their own coach and they were kind of siloed off. Again, wasn't the best plan because then we lost that ability to have the camp atmosphere to where people were elevating each other as they went by doing things together. Now we're at a point to where we've got a good mix of that. So now we've got up to, I think, 9 coaches just on the CrossFit side. So they've all got individual athletes, but we want to put them into a camp atmosphere as much as possible. And what I love about our coaches so much is that they talk every day. And it's one of those things like, hey, my athlete might be coming to HQ in a week. Kiefer, can you line up their programming so they can do as much as they can together? And then on their strength, they can do it on their own. Mm. So what we're finding is if we can put people in this environment of being into a camp setting as much as possible, they're getting more and more out of it. Now, the downside of that is doing it too much, like you said, from an intensity level. And that's why we don't want people here 12 months out of the year. We do have people who live here full time, but those are our people that live here. And they're never going to a spot where they just feel like they're banging their heads against a wall because their systemized approach to training, their coaches are here. That's not a big deal. But when we talk about camps where we've got 12 games athletes, we've got everybody in house, all the coaches, we really like to pare that down to twice a year. So let's talk about last year. We did online semis, so they were all in for that. And that was a big one, right? Because you could qualify online. It was a really high stress environment where we wanted them within this building so we could kind of control everything. The ability that we saw of them to elevate each other's performances in that setting gave us all the information we needed. It was insane because you would think in that room, you're seeing your competitors' scores. So you think that's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, he did this, I've got to do this. And it was such a enlightening moment for us and a proud moment for me and Shane and Tia. That didn't happen once. The minute people got done with their workouts, they were jumping in to set up for somebody else's workout, cheer them on, yell at them to get more reps.
And
it was one of,
it's like an open Friday night style kind of thing. That's so cool.
And we didn't expect that from them. We wouldn't even ask them to do that, right? Because this is their seasons. They're on the line. This is their chance to make it to the games. If you want to go home and you want to rest in between workouts, we're not going to say anything. And that organically happened because of what we built over the last year. So like I said, that was probably one of the proudest moments over the last 12 months that we've had. And then we turn it up. So games training is when it's a different level. So that's like on 12 to where they're here for 6 to 8 weeks. If you're a rookie, you get your head smashed in pretty well. You're either going to never come back again, or you're going to be with us for life if you make it through a games camp with us. And that's where, like, you talk to people like Ricky, who's been in this sport so long, he was trashed for about 3 weeks, and he didn't know if he was.
Say something about it too, like
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you finally want the competition aspect to come in, where we want those guys to compete against each other because, hey, in 6 weeks you're going to be on the floor against that same person. You need to know where you're at when it comes to those things. So that's when we finally switch it on to where we're getting pretty intense into them, and they're doing mostly all of the same things. Because at that point, you're all training for the same test at the games. We need to start putting you in an environment where even if you might not be ready for it yet, you've got to be ready for it because you're going to be there with everyone. And yes, there's individual tweaks. And if people have little injuries that come up here or there before the games, which is inevitable in games training, we always change those things. But that's the time of year where it's like, I said before, that's when emotions have to go out the window. I don't care if your hands hurt or if you're tired on a Sunday because it's the last day of training. The games don't care either, right? So if you can push through here, once you deload and you go to the games, you're going to be more prepared than anyone. I think we saw that a lot this year, especially with the volume being a little bit lower in Albany. Our athletes came to us on Sunday and they said, man, we could go for 2 more days. Like, I'm not sore whatsoever. This is the easiest games I've ever been to. And we wish it would have been longer, and I'm hoping this year it is.
Oh, shit. Well, real quick, speaking of competitors, this is a very good question. Who wins in a WOD? You, Shane, or Kiefer?
This is a tough one. So we got into high rocks a lot this year because it was one of those things to where like we could just get out of the office, go run, jump into a workout. We didn't have to do much mobility. We didn't have to do that. And Shane just turned into like a professional athlete out of nowhere. He just started like he got so fit, so fast. Was like we did you guys know event 1 of the games came out like 5 weeks in advance, right? It was the run, row, run.
Yep.
And Shane was like, I think he beat Tia in one of them. And like he was flying. The guy was faster than most of our athletes. And Steve and I are just standing here like, okay, like I didn't know we were doing this. And so
bragging rights.
Yeah. So I think Shane right now definitely has that crown and he's also better at CrossFit. So that's a pretty easy one.
Well, when you're the husband of the GOAT, I guess there's a little bit of a responsibility. Like,
yeah.
You can't look completely,
Unfit.
you know, yeah.
A lot of people don't know it either. Like he was Tia's first training partner. Like when they first started, he did every single workout of Tia's training for probably 2 years when they were alone. And I'm pretty sure he made regionals 1 year. Like he was a very good athlete before he dove all in on coaching.
Well, she said in a documentary how fit he was. I don't know if it was her first or second year, and he just brushed it off like, nah. And okay, well now we know, bro. Now we know.
He's the one that will never say those things. So for sure, I will say it for him.
Yeah, husband.
Well, you got to sneak those videos just out for the public to see just a little glimpse of how good Shane actually is. But I want to go back a little bit because, you know, you go from being a CrossFitter junkie like the rest of us, and then you start coaching and whatever. And then all of a sudden you blink and you're at Proven and the CEO of Proven and hanging out with the best in the biz, which is Tia and Shane. What was that journey like? And what was that like? Did you have to pinch yourself of holy shit, like I'm here at Proven with the greatest of all times?
Did you ever have imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Dude, I do right now, like every single day. But like it's hard because it's been a weird journey for sure. Like when I came on with Proven, I saw a social media ad on Instagram and it was for a part-time programming coach because they were like launching an online program and they needed somebody to just sit in an Excel sheet and just knock out workouts. Mm-hmm. And like at that time, like I said before, Taylor was 15 hours a day in school doing everything. And I was working my job in Texas, but I was still working from home because it was remote. So I'm like, hey, if I can make us a little bit more money and I don't have to leave the house and I can do this online. Tia and Shane were always people I definitely looked up to, especially Shane from a coaching aspect. I'm just going to give this a go. I'm going to throw my resume in the ring and just see what this is about. It's wild. Like I will tell you one thing I pinch myself about is that Shane told us afterwards, like I think they got 400 to 500 resumes and Dwight and I got hired out of that. Like just the fact that he even looked at our resumes, honestly, is a miracle. And I don't take that lightly. And I give all credit to Shane for, well, I don't know if he actually read them all. I don't know if we truly just got lucky, but like for him, and I don't care at this point, but like whatever it was,
really cares. Maybe it was like,
but that,
and pick two random.
Yeah. Whatever it was. This is where we are, and Dwight and I are still here, which is very cool. But so it started as that, right? It started as what I thought was going to be a very part-time thing. Shane's like, hey, can you come up and meet us in Nashville? I got in the car that morning and drove there and sat down with them. We clicked really well. And while we were sitting down, they're like, hey, this was a little bit more than what we advertised on the job position. We're actually bringing Brooke Wells onto the team and we need a coach for her. So I was like, okay, my wife is going to kill me if this happens. And so, and like I said before, we don't really say no to things. So I was like, yep, perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
No
That's what this is. Yep. Like I've never coached an individual games athlete before, but I made myself sound good enough. So clearly they thought I was the one to do it. So like, to be quite fair, I don't think I was ever prepared for a single job that I've gotten outside of being a CrossFit coach, but I've always been in the boat of figure it out as you go. And as long as you can work hard enough and learn enough as you go along, you can do it. And if you can be an expert in the field that you're in, you can figure out anything that you need to figure out. Like there's so many tools these days, and we have the internet and social media, and anything that you would really need to arm yourself with being an expert, you could do it. So like for the next year and a half, I was making basically no money to work with Proven, but I knew that, hey, this seems to be a right fit, and Tia and Shane are genuinely amazing people where I just want to see where this thing is going to go. It may not go anywhere, and I may have to end this to go into more of a corporate role with my other job here. And I just gave it a go for 2 years, and here we are. And we sat down, and I think it was 2023. Shane and I sat down. We were kind of having a end of year review to talk about the year ahead. And, I'd been giving him some business lessons on things I thought should happen with Proven, not trying to overstep just because they were in a position of, hey, we have all these people coming in and we have this business that's booming, but we don't know what to do with it. Because neither Tia and Shane, I would say, really care for the business that much. They just want to be able to do what they do on the athlete and coaching side. And I was just such a fan of what they were doing. And I'd gotten to a point where I'd learned so much more about business from my other job. I was like, hey, man, what do you think about us doing this? Let's just go all in. Like, just what do you think about me coming over? And that's exactly, it was funny because he wanted to ask me the same thing. He just didn't feel like it was the right time of me leaving my other job. And we both took a risk there. I put my notice in with the company in Texas, and we jumped all in January, February that year. And ever since then, it's been busier than ever, but also the best scenario we could ever ask for, and like the growth that we've been able to see as a company. And then also personally, when it comes to Tia, Shane, myself, and our relationship has been beyond our wildest dreams. And like, to answer your question again, I don't think I have anything figured out when it comes to this. Every day I wake up, I think that I'm just some kid that, coached at a CrossFit gym, but just had such a longing and a passion to work with athletes at this level. And I remember, like, back in the day, I used to just sit back and I would look at people that were in maybe agent positions where they got to work with pro athletes. Or I even looked at Shane and was like, hey, that would be a dream job. Like, if I could just figure out a way to blend my passion for business and marketing and advertising in with being a CrossFit coach and working with athletes, I'd want to do that till I die. And now I sit here and I get to wear a hoodie to work, and I get to work into a gym, and I get to hang out with athletes all day. Like, people ask me why I work so much and why I'm in the office so late. And it's like, there hasn't been a day where it's even bothered me. It's just one of those things where we're so fortunate to have the opportunities coming our way that we do, because we've put ourselves in that position that I'm never going to let one of those opportunities go by. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure we're number one at the end of the day, that we really feel like that we've figured this out, and we're never going to get there. But like I said before, if we don't continue to put ourselves in these positions, we're never going to figure it out for any of us. And I think what we've been able to see on the athlete side of the passion that we've reignited in a lot of athletes that we have, just by giving them a place to be themselves and giving them opportunities to take their careers to the next level, has been like all I've ever asked for. And I could have never imagined that we've come this far, and that we're only 2.5 years into this thing is pretty wild. And it's been the ride I never imagined, that's for sure.
It's crazy cool that you say that, because that's what this community does for us, right? Like, it's, Gabe from Paper Street Coffee, he just had this crazy hobby that he was doing, and he was like, oh, I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to go all in with it. Travis from Vindicate, same thing. Like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to jump in. Primal Mobility, all the podcasters that are trying to stream things and whatnot. You guys, even Taylor, when she wanted to, or Tia, when she wanted to do this crazy thing called CrossFit and see where it takes her, and then they decide to go all in, and now here everybody is. That to me is what this community is. Whether it's just your health and well-being and being able to pick up your grandkids, or it's you starting your own business, or it just seems that this is where it is. This is where you do it. This is how you find your friends, you find the people that lift you up. And it's cool to hear you say that, because looking at it from a fan perspective, it's just like, holy crap, it's Nic Johnston from Proven. He like coaches all these crazy athletes, like seeing you at events. It's like, it's freaking Nic Johnston, or it's Tia Claire Toomey, or it's, whoever. But you're not, like, you're just like us. Like, you had all the same opportunities as everybody else. And it's crazy cool to watch you guys do it and help other people do it in the same time.
Yeah, I can't stand when people come in here thinking like, you know, they had it figured out. They came in here, they set the groundwork, and they just like knew exactly that was going to happen along the way. Because one, this sport's way too new for anyone to claim that, right? Like it's changed so much every year to year that like BS, right? Like there's no way that you knew what was going to happen to your company year after year, and there's nobody that like cannot give back to just being an affiliate as why we're all where we are. Like at the end of the day, when I was in Michigan, and Taylor reminds me of this often, I was working at 6 different CrossFit gyms just to be full time. Like I was literally driving because it was just such a new thing in Michigan. Nobody could offer a full-time position.
Yeah.
And she would remind me, because this is when we were dating long-term, like long distance, and we would just text. And she's like, do you understand, like with gas and food, like you're not making any money. Shut up. I'm trying to be a coach. And like truly, like at the time, like you look back on it and you can laugh at it. But at the time I truly knew like if I can just give all I can give to this one thing, I'm going to work it out. Like I don't care if I'm making money or not, like something good is going to come of it, whether it's me being successful as a coach or it's pivoting to something else like I'm in now. If you put those values into place and you just continue to strive to be better rather than just saying, oh, well, I didn't make money my first year, I'm going to quit and go get a job that's safe and I can go work as a sales guy at some company and sit behind a desk. Like that's a very safe thing to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's probably going to work for you. But it just is how much do you want on top of that? And how much do you want to show your wife, your kids, whoever it may be, that you've created something over time and you can look back on a legacy that you feel like you really built yourself. Right. And that's not for everybody, but if you really do feel that way, you're going to be one of those people that dives all in. You don't really ask questions, but you figure it out along the way. And hey, maybe 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work, but that one time that it does, it's going to reignite something into you to where you feel that fire and you're going to keep going after it. And I would say there's still days today where I sit at this desk and I think, man, like this could be gone tomorrow. I don't have any of this figured out. And these people are doing that and these people are doing this and we're so far behind. And then I'll wake up the next day and I'll get emails from maybe one of our affiliates or members that are on our track that tell us all these things that are happening to them that have been great over time. Or I'll have a conversation with one of our athletes that's been with us for a long time that talk about, hey, like you guys have changed my life in so many different ways, even just outside of competition. I'm just in a good spot because of what you guys have taught me from a foundational level. Like those are the things that show us we're on the right path. And I think it's so easy to kind of get complacent and to get lazy for people once they get to a place of success like we could do right now. And that's where Tia and Shane have just taught me so much because I've never really seen them content with anything they've done. There's never been a time where we sit around in a pizza party and say, man, look at how cool we are. We did this. There's never been a single moment like this in 3 years. And you know, that's not, we should definitely celebrate our wins, but that's also, it keeps us very cognizant of the fact that we're nowhere close to where we want to be. And because we act that way in the mindset that we have, that's why we continue to do what we do. And I think we just see so many companies that they get to a certain point of where they think they should have gone. And 2 years later, we never see them again, right? Because they get to that safe space. And I think you'll find, you talk about Travis and you talk about the other people, if you go all in on this thing and like something that we talk about is like burning the ships. If you leave nothing behind, you have nothing to fall back on. So you have to keep pushing those. And that's what puts people in a place of real success over time.
Yeah, I was going to say that what I'm realizing with all the people that we've, been fortunate to meet and talk to on this podcast is the permission to take risks or the encouragement to go take risks, and I think that that's been something that's been helpful for me because coming from a place of watching people just settle, but also struggle to even just settle, it almost didn't give permission to go take those risks because those risks were never going to pay off. But watching you guys you guys are a couple steps ahead of us. Like you said, like you guys feel in a way you guys are a little bit behind because you're brand new. You guys are newer to the space. Like we kind of feel the same way too in some points, but like we're still moving ahead. We're still taking those risks. And I think seeing you and seeing Trav and seeing Gabe and everybody in this space that just is like, fuck it, I'm going to take a risk and whatever the fuck happens is going to happen. And you do find those moments where things have changed. I think the coolest thing for us is meeting people like you guys and making friends from this podcast. And it's like, even if that's what it is, like that's really fucking cool from where we were before we started this. So you guys all give us that fire to like take a risk and like like this whole time, like I got goosebumps listening to you just talking, because it's like, just go do it. Just go figure it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, you get into
It doesn't have to be pretty.
It doesn't have to be pretty. Most people like to watch how messy things are before you get to where you get to. And so I just appreciate you being so honest and open with the journey that you guys have had, because it just gives permission, and it gives that little bit of fire under of like, whatever you're doing, if you care about it enough, like it's worth doing.
I think go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. You go.
I think it's one of those character traits that you either have it or you don't. And that we find that a lot with athletes. And like I said before, I joked about it, but when we have athletes that come into this camp and think they want to live a certain way as a professional athlete, or they want to win the games, or they want to do X, Y, and Z, it probably only takes them a month to realize if they really do want it or not. And some of them maybe will go their whole career with faking it, and that's totally okay. But one, they're going to be unhappy, and two, they're probably never going to get to a position where they ever wanted to be. On the flip side, you've got those people who come in on day one, and they'll give you 1,000% of them at all times, and they just want to learn. And I would say that's exactly what we found as well is, you're asking for this, you better be ready for the opportunities when it comes. Because if you don't really want it, when those opportunities come, you're not going to take full advantage of them. I think a lot of the time, since I've been in the corporate world and I've been in this more of a, we'll call it a startup world, pressure is a privilege, and that's not built for everyone. Because I think in the corporate world, you're used to dealing with other people's money to where, hey, if I was a CEO of my old company, I could very easily just hire all these different people to do all the things that I do here and make my life very easy. I wouldn't need to push hard. I could pay all these other people to do it. And hey, over time, it might work, but it's probably not going to work because those people don't have the vision and the passion that I do for this.
They don't care as much as you do. Yeah,
exactly. And for here, because we're building something from scratch, and even more so, it's the baby of Tia and Shane. Like, that's very personal for someone. This isn't just someone, we've never spent a dime of anybody else's money. This is all our money, and this is all coming from what Tia and Shane have built. That's a lot. Like that's some pressure that you really have to think about over time. And when these opportunities do come, and let's say somebody asks for something and they're like, hey, can you have it tomorrow? And it means, hey, you got to be in the office till 5 a.m. That's the opportunity that you asked for. And you have to sit there and say, hey, one day when I was making no money and I was driving my car around with no gas and I was miserable and I wanted to be here, this is what I asked for. So now I have to do it. Right. And you're not going to have every day where you feel great, but if you can keep that in mind and you can remind yourself of those time after time, like those are the things that'll keep you motivated. And to be quite fair, like, because I enjoy my job so much, it's never even a motivation. It's just something that is inherently been built in over time. And I think you guys will feel the same way as you continue to have success and you keep going. But if you don't really want it, like I said before, people will always stop right before they make it because they truly don't have the heart and desire of what it takes. And that's okay. Like, you can always go do something else. But I think we all will see who 5 years from now, 10 years from now was the ones that really stuck to their word, and it wasn't just lip service, and they really wanted to be successful at something. And that's what it takes, because it's just consistency. Doing the same thing over and over and over again. Sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose. But if you continue to just stack those little decisions that become big decisions that become wins, it'll look completely different in a year's time, 5 years' time, and especially down the road.
Indicate. Nick makes me want to run through a brick wall, but it's too cold outside. So no, listen, I mean, I said that. Talk about being just fired up. And
coming from the guy with all the apparel he would ever need, just put some layers on, man.
We know you have it in your house. You just put up that reel this morning of all that shit that you have.
That's an excuse.
What about you just talked about stacking wins on wins and all the little goals and the little wins as you go through. What about the and I've heard you talk about this too, but the little losses, like how do you not let that beat you up? How do you not let that discourage you? And you just keep going and just keep like the little mistakes you make, I guess you want to say, business decision wise, or, whatever.
I think the easiest way to say it is the more that you fail, the less impactful failures are, if that makes sense. So like at the beginning, little failures will seem monumental. It'll seem like the end of your world, like you can never come back from it. It's done. You fail again, and then they just don't seem as impactful, right? Because if you make the decision to turn those into learning opportunities. You just get used to failure and you almost welcome it because you know you can learn from it. I would say for us, when I first came on, my first year as CEO in this was our worst year as a company. And it was when we were going through athletes leaving the camp, athletes kind of blaming us for their careers, and just all the back and forth because we really had no foundation of accountability and no standard of what we believed in as a whole. At that point, I thought I made a mistake. I thought, hey, I probably shouldn't have taken this job. And not that that was a business thing, that was more of a coaching thing from all of us. But like, if we don't have these things in place, what am I doing in this job that we can't even hold our own athletes in this camp? So that was a moment where we had to sit down and it was like, hey, do we just say, screw it, we're not working with athletes anymore, we've got Tia, we don't need anyone else, and we take the safe route? Or do we really believe in what we believe in and know that we have something extra to give and we can help athletes become the best that they can be? And that's what we lean on as a company. That's exactly what we did. And that was, I would say that was failing very fast and big early, which helped a lot. And it's just taking bigger swings, right? Like if you want to do something great, you can't just play it safe. So now I would say we've even over the last month dealt with something that I would view as a failure. And I've had to really sit back and think like, man, why are we even doing this? Like we're in a great place. Why do we need to keep continuing to push? And that lasts about 2 seconds where my brain snaps out of it. And it's one of those things like, again, you put yourself in a position for an opportunity to be the best in the world. The best in the world they don't just lay down when they get kicked, right? They come back, and it's like the old Rocky saying, it's like, how many times are you going to get hit before you really lay down? Like we're always going to come back, or we're not going to do it at all. Like the day that we decide to hang this up is the day where we lose our passion for anything that we do on the coaching side, on the human performance side, anything that we have to do with fitness. And that's okay. Like you lose passion after once in a while, that's fine. But for us, like the failures are what motivate us and what we're able to impart on our athletes as material that help fire them up for the future. Because with our athletes, it's even more pertinent, right? Because when you fail in competition, especially in a sport like CrossFit, it has detrimental impact on your career because we only get maybe 2 competitions a year to show yourself. And if you mess it up at the first one, let's say a semifinal, you don't even get a second opportunity. So it's one of those things where we have to put them in scenarios in training to fail so that they're used to those things once they get on the competition floor. So a big opportunity that we find is when we do have these training camps, let's make it as hard as we can for them so that nothing phases them when something goes wrong on the floor. And I think that's just a metaphor for life, right? If you continue putting yourself in these positions that make you tougher, like going right back to what Taylor and I went through as a couple early on in our relationship, if we hadn't have gone through those things, we never would have been set up for success in the future. So it's just a learning opportunity. And I'll keep going back to that. If you don't continue to take bits and pieces and gold from each time that you're knocked down, you're never going to be able to know what it feels like to succeed after that.
You're such a you're such a crazy mindset coach, and you have so many young athletes too, young men and women. And I know in CrossFit years, probably 25 isn't young, or 28 isn't young, or whatever. But you have like Olivia Kerstetter, Jay Crouch, Ricky. These are all, these are all young men and women that are have gone through some experiences. And here you are, kind of giving them these life lessons. And do you take any? Is there like a feeling of pressure there when you do have to talk about all these things, or like, is there any kind of nervousness when you're talking about this stuff to them?
Yeah, I would say it's because we've gone through so much, it gets easier, but it only is transpiring because we've gone through things. So I would say one good example of this is Olivia's been with us for 3 full years now. And year 1, I wouldn't call it luck, but it was the year that we had semifinals where 11 people were in the field, right? So there was a lot of moving and shaking to where you could have pretty big holes, but if you were good enough at certain things, you could make it in. And that's the year she first made the games. Did we think she would make the games then realistically as a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old? Probably not. Right. She did. Awesome. We're on top of the world. That's great. The next year where she's a better athlete, she misses the games. And that was one of those things where it was West Coast Classic and she had won like 3 events and she still didn't make the games, which was insane. And it was just, she had a couple of things where she didn't fuel properly. It wasn't really about her talent level, but she was just such a young athlete. She didn't have it all buttoned up. And at this level, you just can't have those things happen because you'll know pretty quickly that the seasoned athletes will beat you in those scenarios. I remember it because I was at Torian. I went out to go coach Jay, Maddie, and a couple other athletes, and West Coast was happening at the same time. I was in the airport on the way back from Torian when I was watching the live stream, and it came down to the last workout, and Olivia didn't make it. And I remember just like calling her as quickly as I could after she was available and talking her through that. And I'd never been more impressed with an athlete to say, hey, I know this sucks really bad. Like, I feel like I'm an athlete for the next 10 years. I'm going to be at the games and I hope to win the games one day. To make the games as a 16-year-old and then not as a 17-year-old could have really shocked her world and shook her to a core where I think we've seen that with a lot of young teen athletes to where.
Yeah, that is not the regular mindset of a teenage girl. So kudos to Olivia for that.
Yeah, and that's kudos to Jacob, really, because he, from day one, has put her in an environment to where he's taught her these really invaluable things. And Jacob kind of handed her over to us at a point to where we matched very well when it came to those characteristics. And I think Jacob probably talked to tons of coaches when it came down to that. And we just kind of happened to believe in the same thing. So it was a very easy handoff to us. And we've just always tried to put in her brain, and I would say Lucy McGonigal as a 17-year-old is another one, to where the pressure isn't there for you to be perfect right now. We're looking at a very long-term plan there, but you have to learn from these things that'll help you get better over time. So when I called her, it was like, hey, Olivia, like, this is going to hurt. You've got to let it hurt, because if you don't let it hurt and you don't really let it sink in on how bad this sucks right now, you may not understand how, if it happens again, it'll just become easier and easier to accept failure. Like I said before, this thing's got to be something where this can never happen again. This has to be something where we go back, take some time off, but we go back to shore up every little thing possible, whether that's nutrition, whether that's fitness, whether that's mindset, to where we look back and this is just a funny thing we dealt with in your career. I think that goes for all of our athletes, even with Ricky, like having the conversation of him being 31 years old and having the same coach for the majority of his career, and him taking a risk to join us and saying, I think I need a change. I think what you guys are doing is what I need, and I want to give this a try. That's probably the most pressure I've ever seen Shane under in his entire career, right? And as confident as Shane is in what he does, that was a moment where Shane was a little nervous. And it was a position of, this could only go bad if I don't give all I have into this thing and set Ricky up to where he needs to be. So that means that we've got to change some things. And it means I have to trust into what I tell the rest of our athletes in, you need to do things this way and you need to listen to what I have to say. And if you don't go down this path, we're just going to be in this no man's land where you're not going to get any better. So the fact that our athletes come in and we are able to build these relationships with them off the floor when it comes to trust, I would say that's number one. Because even in failures, they know that we're in their corner, we're pushing them in the right direction. And even though it might be a short-term negative, it's probably going to lead to a long-term positive. And what we've seen out of Olivia, obviously coming back the next year, podiuming at the games this year, 5th at Rogue, and the trajectory that she's on is unbelievable. She understands those things. And even the mindset talks we had at Rogue last weekend, she's just so much older than she presents herself in age. She has the mindset of a 10-year veteran when it comes down to that. And that's all been in the span of a couple years, which has been awesome to see.
Well, I think that you make a really good point. Some that have been in this space for a long time have that type of mindset, but then others that have been in this space for less time, or maybe even the same time, especially starting so young, aren't able to have that type of mindset. But I think it's so cool because for you guys at Proven, you have 2 leaders that have literally shown every aspect of mindset changes, of growth. I mean, the infamous video behind the scenes or movie, was it 15? Where Tia was devastated that she got second, and you see how much self-doubt she has and all this type of stuff. And then you see her come back and it's 17 and she comes back and there's that worry that she wasn't going to win. And then she fucking finally wins. And then her trajectory just takes off. And there is no doubt. There is no questioning. Like, she is going to come in and she's going to fight for this, and she's going to grow every step of the way. So you two have the most prominent open book leaders in the space that show the importance of growth from when you start to where you're going to go. And so when you guys have that leadership, do you guys really lean on the two of them and their journey and their experience to get through with your athletes, but also with you guys as coaches? Because Shane obviously went through it with her, not only as a coach, but as her partner and all that type of stuff. Do you guys really lean on the two of them when it comes to this type of stuff?
I think it comes down to the standard that we set. So day one, every year we'll have an athlete meeting, right? All of our athletes that will be within our camp with a one-on-one coach, we bring them into a meeting and we say, hey, this is what we've learned over time. These are the values, the mission, everything that we believe in. And this is what we expect out of you if you're going to be one of our athletes. If you don't believe in that, totally fine. You go find somewhere else, or we could put you on our track and you can do your thing. There's nothing wrong with that if that's too much pressure for you. But we make people buy in on day one. And there's not this, I think people are a little confused because they think that just to teach somebody something, it means that you have to be in their face with a finger telling them what to do at all times. I would say how you do one thing is how you do everything is something that we always preach here. And all you have to do is be in the same room as Tia and Shane for an extended period of time, and they could not say a word, and you're going to raise your bar to where they are immediately, because the gravity that they hold and what they've learned over time and the championship mindset that they've built just rubs off on everyone they're around if they let it, right? It doesn't mean that people have to soak that in. We just give them the opportunity to do that. And that's what we tell every athlete that wants to come over here is we're going to give you the tools to have everything you ever want in your career. It's on you to take advantage of that. And I think that's where we differ a lot from other camps, because we put ourselves in a position to where we don't need any more athletes, and we probably never will. We're going to be in a position to where if you want to be here, you've got to show that you deserve to be here and that you're going to be able to elevate all the people that are around you, because that's what Tia and Shane have been able to do from day one. All of us are only here because of them and what they preach on a daily basis. And it's a lot. Like it's a very high stress environment. I wouldn't say working for me, working for anyone in this company, being an athlete of ours is by any means easy. But that's going to be what it takes to get to where you want to go. And that's what I think what you'll find with a lot of high performers is that expectation just has to be set so high that if you do fail, you're failing to the level of your competitors, right? You're not failing below them. You're training so high and you're putting your expectations so high that if something goes wrong, you're just right in with the rest of the people that may be slacking on a daily basis. And we want to continue elevating that level every single day. And that should come down to every aspect of your life, not just when you're training, not when you're just on a competition floor. And I would say that's where I've grown the most, knowing Tia and Shane over the last few years, and my wife, for a matter of fact, over the last 3 years, is that just because I work hard in business doesn't mean I can go home and be a slob. Just because I work hard in business doesn't mean I can't go take care of myself in the gym and say I'm too busy to work out or not be healthy. Like those things all have to be one, because as a human being, that's what we need to see you progressing as, not just as an athlete, not just as a mom, not whatever it may be. We need to see you continually elevating your life. And, you know, the sport is one of those things to where you don't have to be a CrossFit Games champion. You don't even have to make the games, but you can get better along the way that are going to help you be a better person. Every one of our athletes is going to be done competing probably by the time that they're 40, and that's even a stretch. You've got more than half of your life left after that point. So what are you going to do at that time? I think if you just kind of move along in life and not take things too seriously and not hold yourself to a standard, once you get to that point, you're very lost. And what we've seen, I would say, with a lot of the teenage athletes in the sport and a lot of the athletes that, you know, may be forced out because of injury, may retire, and then they just kind of don't know what to do. That kills me. That absolutely kills me to see that they don't have a plan. And we want to be able to help our athletes. Maybe you didn't get where you wanted to get. Maybe you had a goal of being on the podium and 10 years later you didn't get there. Okay, that's fine. The prize isn't a leaderboard. The prize isn't points that we were striving for in this external motivator. The prize should be where you were on day one to where you are on day 100 and what that looks like differently in your life and the better person that you became over time.
God, I just I
You need to sell a mindset
Yeah,
course
dude,
or
like,
something,
I
my
don't-
dude. You
oh,
just
God.
I am just literally hanging on every word that you say, because the next thing that comes up, and you hear people say this of like, you can't expect too much from people, or you can't set the standard too high, because you're just setting people up to fail. And if you set people up to fail, they're never going to get anywhere because they're going to fail. And it's like, you're saying we need to set our standards even higher. Whereas I feel like in the world, our standards are so low, and everybody just is like, okay, you can just kind of get by and it doesn't really matter and whatever. But for what you're saying and what I'm hearing you say is that we actually need to, as people, as individuals, we need to set our standard even higher, because that's where the most impact, not even necessarily for everybody else, but for ourselves. Like that's where we become our truest, most authentic self.
I think if you look at it this way, and I would never obviously say this to an athlete because it's very aggressive, but in my head, if I could sit down a 17-year-old athlete and I could see the future, let's just say I could see what's exactly going to happen to them in 10 years when they're 27. And I could say to them, hey, in 10 years, you're going to never do X. You're never going to get where you wanted to be. And that's what your future looks like. Or I could tell them, hey, you're going to get everything you wanted, and that's what's your future going to be like. And they, one, either just give up at that point, or if they want to dig it even harder and just enjoy the process along the way, that's how we pick who we want to work with. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things where I'd rather them go through that learning process in a month, 6 months to a year, rather than wasting 10 years of their career just kind of hoping things happen, if that makes sense. Like, I think, like I said before, if you fail fast, you're going to learn way more about yourself than if you take the safe route and you just hope it happens. So like I said, like with our games camp, we've had athletes literally come in for a 5 weeks games camp, and we never see them back as an athlete. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, because they realized something in this camp that told them, I don't want this as bad as I thought I did. And there's nothing wrong with that. And maybe they went to go do something else and they're happy in life and they became a better boyfriend, or they got to do something else they were passionate about. That to me helps them lead a better life than us forcing them to do something that they don't want to do, or us not holding them to a standard that allows them to be mediocre over time. Because if we don't expect enough out of them, we could just let them fester in mediocrity for forever. Right. And that's our fault. And I put that pressure on us at the end of the day. So I would rather push people to a failure point to where they realize they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, rather than letting them just, trying to figure things out time after time and not really loving what they're doing, if that makes sense.
What? And you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but what does your games camp look like? Is it like 6 days of 6 workouts a day and like sleep deprivation and like what? What
no
does
water,
it look like?
no food.
Yeah. What?
I think what people are going to find out, I think when we look back on this in 5-10 years, we're going to look back and see like what Proven was able to do in the months of June through August differentiated the sport in a way that we didn't see at the time. Like, I don't think people truly understand what's happening right now with these athletes and the environment that they're in and the coaches we're able to bring in and the amount of attention to detail that's going on in that camp. I won't give away a ton, but it's just putting them in positions to where it's basically the games for 6 weeks, to be quite fair with you. It's like, hey, we've got the answers to the test because of the coaching minds that we have. You wouldn't believe what Shane and what Kiefer and the rest of our coaches are able to sit down and extrapolate over learning from the last 10 years of games to put into programming for the athletes that we have. Like this year, I swear to you, we came up with probably 3 to 4 main key pieces we wanted to work on over the 8 weeks. And 3 weeks out of the games, the workouts come out and they all matched exactly what Shane had put together. And like, if anybody like saw that, like, oh, Proven just knows everything. Like, Dave's giving them the workouts, but the amount of time that these guys put into,
Dave was giving someone all the secrets. It's you guys, you
guys got Chad right when the year that you did Chad. Like it was
man. When I saw that video, I was like, oh, I want to be on that text chain where they got the boxes set up. But I think it's just an attention to detail that we're very fortunate from a monetary standpoint to be able to facilitate elevate these things, right? We've got this beautiful facility. We can allow these athletes to be in one area by themselves to really help them professionalize what they're doing, where nobody else can really say that they're doing that. We're able to bring in all of these coaches from around the world that have different tools. And at the end of the day, we've got Tia and Shane with the experience that they have. So it's very hard to explain. Like, even if I could tell you the secret to this, I can't, because you have to be here to kind of recognize that. But we had a few rookies that came in this year, and on day one, I think they walked in with their eyes very wide, and they're a little scared on what they got themselves into. But I would say now, like at this point, 3-4 months later, I feel like I've known them for 10 years, because the relationships that are built during that time and kind of the vulnerabilities that people go through. And a lot of the athletes that didn't know each other going to that camp are now all talking all the time in our group chats. And they're like, hey, let's get an Airbnb. I'll go to Nashville at this time. And they feel like even though they're on separate corners of the world, they've become great friends. And I would say we didn't even ever expect this to be as big and as cohesive as it is now. And this has just been, like, honestly, a dream come true. And one thing we want to be very cognizant of is that we don't just feel like we've done it. Like I said before, we're continuing to elevate that and pushing the bar. And this games camp, we're going to figure out what we did wrong last year, and we're going to make it better. And we're going to hopefully help these athletes continue to improve year after year.
So proven 2026. That's all I'm hearing right now in my headphones. And before we let you get out of here, oh yeah, Kenneth. Yeah, they do have a pretty sweet coffee shop. Paperstreetcoffee.com. paperst.com. And
sales go up when the athletes are there for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So and then hang out for him, because he's having a crazy
some stuff
Vindicate and Paper Street are having some crazy Black Friday sales with a whole bunch of partners. So hang in for that for Black Friday. They're giving you everything. They're literally giving you everything,
as they always do.
But before we let you get out of here, and thank you so much for all of this. I really appreciate it. You have no idea.
This has been so amazing. So thank you so much
crazy.
for this.
I would say this is definitely the quickest hour that I've ever had on a podcast. So this was fun.
It's quick. It was so quick.
Thank you so much, dude. Just before you get out of here, tell us about our boy Colton. Is our boy Colton gonna are you gonna keep him from doing like anything else, and you're just gonna keep him so he can like podium at
no more farming,
no more pigs, no more.
Hey, I think he's in the same boat as Taylor, where if we cut him from farming, it's gonna be a bad thing. We've got to let him have a little bit there to where his brain gets satisfied. But I think that definitely is the goal. Like we've talked about it 100 times, him stepping back a little bit. We want to get him in Nashville as much as possible. I think Rogue was a really bright spot for him. We had some really good moments there where I think he's at a point where he's realizing exactly the things that he needs to work on, and whether that be mental or physical. I think 2026 is going to be the year where Colton, it's funny to say, but breaks out even more than he has. And I think it's going to be a cool year for everyone to get to know Colton a little bit more, because he seems to be coming out of his shell a little bit, and especially around our crew. And he elevates everything that we do from personality level, and we love having him around.
We cannot wait to watch you. You have no idea. We won't get to go to the games this year because it's in California, way too far away. But we will be yelling at the television the entire time and rooting for all y'all. Thank you so much.
Come see us in Nashville at some point. We'd love to have you guys.
I'm trying to get her on a fucking plane. So I've gotten her 2 years to go to crash on a plane. So Nashville is actually the next place that I want to be able to try to get her over there.
Yeah.
So
come do an open workout. That'd be awesome. Come see us.
Her do an open workout.
Oh shit!
I'm a bro sesh boy.
Oh shit! I might.
Hey, we got it all. We can help you.
Is Tia there for the open? Like you guys?
Yeah, she jumped into Friday Night Lights last year. She did it twice in a row because someone. This is so cool. This is a great story.
Like, yeah.
The woman in the very last heat last year didn't have anyone to go with her. He had just finished maybe 30 minutes ago, and she jumped in and did it again. It was awesome. So, like, you'll never be alone. That's for sure. She'll jump in and help you.
Oh, my God. But I don't know.
You
like,
go,
I
Shane. Let Shane jump in.
Honestly, like, as long as you're not going with my wife, you're fine. That's the only one you've got to worry about.
But I joke because I'm like, I don't know if I'd ever want someone like Taylor Self to be yelling at me during a workout. I don't know if I'd want someone like Tia Claire Toomey just being in the same vicinity watching me do a burpee workout, because those are awful for me.
She will yell at you. So just have that in mind.
Please.
If you go in the same heat, you'll be fine. We'll just set that up.
There you go.
Yes,
There you go.
at the other side of the gym. Like I don't even want to be next to her. Like we have to be on other side. Listen, just for that, you might have gotten my wife on a plane because to think that Tia Claire Toomey would be yelling at me to get down
Oh,
and
I'm
faster
filming
for a
that.
burpee.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I think that is that might be what's gonna get her on a plane. But Nick, please come back. There's I really
your
enjoyed
mindset
this
is crazy, and we didn't even
conversation.
get to what I really wanted to get to, which was faith, and we didn't even get into that. But one day, I'll
next
get
time
back.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Go paperstreetcoffee.com, Vindicate, go help out Travis, Primal Mobility, code
GTP.
G7, get that discount.
Mm-hmm.
We're
going to say goodbye to you guys. And Nick, just hang out 1 second. We'll say
Love
goodbye to
y'all.
you.
We'll see you
See
tomorrow.
you guys. Thank you.
Deuces.
Bye, guys.